Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of NASCAR Chase for the Cup 2005. We are custom schedule series racing once again on the Nextel Cup Series side. It is the Food City 500 at the Bristol Motor Speedway, and we are ready to rock and roll today for 500 laps around the concrete half-mile short track that is the last great Coliseum. Thanks for everybody tuning in here today. Like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content, full race live commentary, live streams, both for real races on the race weekend as well as the races right here during the week on the current and past NASCAR video games. Tonight, we head to my favorite track at the Bristol Motor Speedway, and I'm excited. Anytime you go to Bristol, I have a lot of fun with this race, even if it is 500 laps of excruciating pain at times. We'll see if we can get through today's race unscathed. With that being said, comment below your predictions of where you think I'll finish, how many laps you think I'll lead out of the 500, and other predictions down in the chat below, how many cautions we might see in today's race as we get ready to get things going. Here we go. Green flag is going to be in the air. We are underway at the Bristol Motor Speedway. Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the pole. Greg Biffle from the 5th starting spot in the early going of this race on that inside lane in the National Guard Ford. Dale Jr. will be the leader of lap number 1 with Ryan Newman, who started outside pole. The Rocket Man, no stranger to qualifying well, up at the front of the field. Furfur Express, welcome. Dale Earnhardt Jr. already kicking things off, leading the first 2 laps of the race. Elliott Sadler sitting in 3rd has had a pretty good start to this one. 303 laps. That's pretty approximate. We'll see if we can get to that. I'll hold you accountable for that prediction. Be fun to see if that'll actually shape into form. We'll try to get underneath Elliott Sadler. This old Bristol, primarily a one-groove racetrack. You're not going to see anybody intentionally really try to go to the outside today to make any passes. Biffle trying to work on the bottom of Elliott Sadler in the 38. He finally gets there after a couple laps of trying to work underneath him. He's clear off of turn 4 for 3rd. Newman had a good run on Dale Jr. those first 2 to 3 laps. He's lost a couple of car lengths on him since. Greg Biffle will move underneath Newman for 2nd place, and he will have the spot clear off of turn 4 again. So turns 3 and 4 seem to be the passing corner for Greg Biffle on the racetrack early on, and he tries to run down race leader Dale Jr., a former Bristol winner. If I'm not mistaken, I think he actually won the night race in 2004. You'll have to correct me down in the chat if I'm wrong. Of course, this is the day race, though. Patrick Shadley, welcome to the stream. Fun fact, your wife works at Food City. Oh, hang on, I read that wrong. My friend's wife works at Food City. Gotcha. I didn't know there was any Food Cities out on the West Coast. I thought that was just a Southern thing. Biffle trying to intimidate Dale Jr. Trying to intimidate the son of the Intimidator. We'll see if that'll work out. Not working out right now. 10 laps in, Greg Biffle trying to make a first lead change of the race today. Working on the pole sitter. Got him a little loose. Biffle closes in quite a bit down the backstretch. R6, welcome to the stream as well. Nope, Biffle not going to be able to get there. Dale Jr.'s holding on strong right now with the clean air advantage. Biffle puts a little bump to Dale Earnhardt Jr. Just enough to loosen him up, but Dale Jr. wouldn't come off the bottom lane. Long ways to go in this one. Biffle's on the attack already, and he is not letting up the aggressiveness. Jr. a little bit wider off the exit of turn 2. Bottom lane is open into turn 3. Biffle gets into the door of the 8. And clear off of turn 4. Little bump and run on Dale Earnhardt Jr. 5 bonus points for Greg Biffle leading his first lap of the race. And Dale Jr. trying to charge back into turn 1 to the back bumper of Biffle now. Bump and run him like he did to Bobby in 97. Yeah, there we go. That was more than a bump and run. That was a dump and run. In both 96 and 97. Oh, they just moved to Tennessee. Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. I was gonna say. Winval calls it food shitty. I do not have a Snapchat. Technically, I have an Instagram that I don't really use. Every time I think about posting something, I just kind of don't go in on it. Should have posted something when I was at the Daytona 500, and I didn't. I didn't post anything at Auto Club. I did post one thing when I was at Daytona, but it wasn't anything from the 500 that Sunday. It's just hard for me to stay active on there when I'm active on here. Well, my mind's not in the right space when it comes to Instagram. I just don't feel like going on there. I'm like never on there anyway. I did say that. It was a Winval reference. That's why I said it. Billy Kramer, welcome to the stream. I did watch the Michigan game earlier, but that's all I caught out of March Madness so far. Michigan pulling off the upset on Colorado State. That's why I got my Michigan hat on today. Supporting Old Blue. Biffle got around Dale Jr., but he has not pulled away whatsoever. Still got a little bit until lap traffic, already 25 laps in. A lot better handling car than what Biffle had in the Busch Series race at Indianapolis Raceway Park last night when he qualified third and dropped to the back quickly. He qualified fifth tonight, but the car is handling really, really beautifully early on. Even in traffic, obviously, when he was making those passes for position early on. Into dense lap traffic, though, we'll have to wait and see. Seems like Dale Jr. is trying a little bit of a wider arc into the corners than Greg Biffle. Biffle's just trying to hold the bottom as much as he can because he knows if he goes up the track once, Dale Jr. is going to be right there for the taking. So even on lap 29 in a 500-lap race, Biffle's keeping the full focus on 100% of the time. That's what you're going to have to do to win a race like Bristol. Our first of two races at this track. We still have the night race later in the season as well. And one of only 4 tracks that we go to multiple times on the season. The other 3 would be Darlington, Daytona, and Talladega. And this is the last of those 4 tracks we haven't gone to yet this season as well. Crown Jewel event coming up in race number 12 of the season, which will be tomorrow night on the channel at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the running of the Brickyard 400. So we'll have some fun with that race, as I'm sure we'll have a lot of fun tonight at Bristol. Some big name racetracks in the sport of NASCAR. These drivers are all going to be fighting for a win at over the next couple of days. That'll be off to Atlanta on Saturday, and our next stream won't be until hopefully Monday night next week. depending on what time I get home on Monday. I'll know further into detail with the scheduling, depending on, you know, how my travels are on the way home. So keep an eye on that community tab on Monday afternoon. You'll know if I'll end up streaming on Monday night or not next week. If not, it will be Tuesday. Looks like Kyle Petty is running in the 43rd place position at the rear of the field right now. He had a pretty good run at the New York City street course race that we had last week. He was in the top 15 for most of the day. Ended up with a top 20 finish for Petty Enterprise. Likely going to be the first car to go a lap down, though, tonight. Biffle's gapped Dale Jr. by a couple car lengths over the last few laps, out to about a 3 to a 4/10 of a second lead. Let's see what the lap traffic will do. A lot of contact, some sparks flying in the middle of turns 3 and 4, somewhere up there. Biffle makes a nice easy pass on Petty. So we have our first car 1 lap down. Unlike in the Busch Series last night at Indianapolis Raceway Park, the driver first to be a lap down, if we see any cautions tonight, will get the free pass. I'd imagine we're going to see at least a couple yellows, considering it is Bristol. We'll see how these runs are going to play out exactly. Pete Nelson in the 153. Biffle slides right into the side of him. Makes the pass on Nelson, though. Accidental bump and run. That was similar to how we got around Dale Jr., just kind of sideswiped him on the door. More contact. That I did see. It was Mike Murphy who got bumped from behind by the 32 of Ricky Craven in the Tide Ride. 177 trying to pinch Biffle. Biffle just gets underneath and moves him up the racetrack. Biffle's got to be careful of how aggressive he's being early on. This is a long race as far as the laps go. It's 1,000 turns around this racetrack. He's going to have to keep the fenders on it. He's DNF'd twice in the last 4 races, although he is coming off a 3rd place finish at the New York City street course race a couple races ago, or sorry, in the last race. But it was 2 races ago at the Devil's Canyon he had DNF'd, and then 4 races ago also at the Phoenix road course. Running the Phoenix infield. Craven going to lose his lap. Just over a half a second lead for Biffle, his largest so far, as we'll get to lap 50 this time by. Fuel window should be just over 150 laps for these Cup Series drivers today, so anywhere between a 2 to a 3 stop race. It's obviously going to have to depend on the caution flags and how they fall and exactly how many stops we get tonight. We're making a pass cleanly on the 163. Yeah, happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody out there. Any of you leprechauns celebrating St. Patrick's Day? Or whoever celebrates St. Patrick's Day as a legitimate holiday. I want free lunch. Give me free lunch. Welcome to the stream. Demanding a free lunch down in the chat. Work at McDonald's. I know they give free lunches. Terry Labonte, the first Hendrick driver to go a lap down early on. He hasn't had a great season this year. He's only got 2 top 10s in the first 10 races. Not really looking like a contender for the championship. Labonte, a 2-time NASCAR Cup Series champ. We had a lot of action on the channel in both races last night. I wasn't able to get to the trivia, so the trivia question I had last night, I will have today at about the halfway mark in today's race. We get right around lap 250. It's going to be detailed as far as it not being a Bristol stat, but it is a NASCAR stat nonetheless from one of the tracks we went to last night at the Indianapolis Raceway Park. Yeah, I got up to 73 here today. I was outside for a little bit. Nice, beautiful weather. It's supposed to drop back down into the 50s, though, tomorrow. I guess it's supposed to rain here this weekend when I'm gone in Atlanta, too. Get hard for Menard down to the chat. Oh, Menard just got into the wall off of turn 2. Rusty Wallace already a lap down in the early... sorry, no, that's the EA Sports car. Never mind. The Tiburon car, I believe. Looked like Rusty Wallace's sponsor there for a second. Miller Lite. Although in this game it's not. He kind of sponsors his own car. Same way Marlin and Dale Jr. do. Not like now where you can put your age verification in to get the alcoholic sponsors. Dusty Gibson sounds like an MLB manager. That sounds like an 80-year-old manager in the professional leagues of baseball. But he's wheeling the 178 car this season. One of the generated rookie drivers. He's going to go a lap down at the hands of race leader Greg Biffle, who has now stretched his lead out at just over a second and a half over Dale Earnhardt Jr. Assuming that Dale Jr. is, of course, still in second place. Stiffy for the Biffy. Stiffle for the Biffle. I just have a computer chair right now. I have a gaming chair in the weight. The wave's coming in. This thing doesn't recline back anymore. Granted, I don't really recline it back. I feel like if I do that, I'll get too relaxed. Don't want that for the commentary side of things and the fact that I'm doing a full race. You got to be on it from the get-go, especially tonight. Not a long race as far as mileage goes, but 500 laps is a testament to just trying to keep the car clean. A couple bump and runs here and there, but for the most part, Biffle has kept it clean. And speaking of a bump and run, here's one on Sterling Marlin to at least open up the inside lane. Marlin's still trying to pinch Biffle. I saw some contact up ahead as well. Looked like Derek Cope got moved out of the way for position. Marlin goes a lap down now. Just over a 2-second race lead for Greg Biffle. 70 laps complete in the Food City 500 at Bristol. 12 people watching right now. Only 4 likes on the stream, though, so smash the like button. Subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. Just over 1.6 thousand subscribers on the channel, so thank you to all of you who have been hitting that subscribe button lately. Still sitting at just over 70% of views in the last, or viewers in the last 28 days are not subscribed to the channel. You guys are watching. I greatly appreciate that you are, but definitely hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any NASCAR streams, whether it is for the live commentary, if you're more on that side of the things and not so much the video game person. I understand, I'm not a big video game person myself, but I do play, obviously, these NASCAR video games for you guys during the week, leading you between races. still doing live realistic commentary there, try to put my own spin on it, try to make it fun, and all in the hopes, of course, of one day getting into the booth down the road. So helps me out a ton. It's free. That's one thing I get from people. Like, I'll mention that I have a YouTube channel or whatever, and they'll be like, oh, you know, that's cool or whatever. And if I ever asked, like, even a family member when I first started the channel to subscribe, they'd be like, oh, does it cost money or something? Like, I feel like they think of subscribe, they think it's like a subscription plan kind of thing, which I guess could be misleading if you're not familiar with YouTube. I'm like, no, it doesn't cost anything. Just hit the button. I do not use the steering wheel anymore. Not currently, at least. I'm sure I will at some point again, but not right now. To go to a 24-hour race. I'd like to go to the Rolex 24 once. Down the road. Not anytime soon, but down the road I would. Be fun. Jerry Cope in the 50 about to lose his first lap. Greg Biffle underneath him. And makes the pass. Bo Banks, Ward Burton, Joe Nemechek, Brendan Gaughan. The next 4 lap cars are the lead lap cars that Biffle will try to catch. And they're hoping for a caution sometime soon. We're caution-free so far. These laps are winding by quickly because of it, as we're going to be 80 laps complete at the start-finish line. So definitely a rapid start to this one. Banks with a little bit of a block on Biffle. Kind of moved himself up out of the way. Burton staying wide. Easy lane for Biffle to get underneath him off the exit of turn 4. About halfway on fuel at lap 82 for Greg Biffle. Biffle quickly now underneath Joe Nemechek. Front row Joe. Will be the first car lap down. Ward Burton will slide underneath Nemechek, trying to take that spot away from him, and he'll have it off the exit of turn 2 as Nemechek still stuck on the outside. I'm not saying I would sit in the grandstands for all 24 hours of the race, but I would like to go to a IMSA race sometime. One car is in the pit lane, or at least trying to make his way to the pit lane, down on the bottom of the track. It's Mike Murphy in the 199 car who has blown an engine. I believe he needs to get to the backstretch to his pit road, and he is there now. So we continue to stay green. Mike Murphy will be the first driver to retire from the race today. Derek Booth, welcome to the stream. Gaughan trying to put the bumper to Michael Waltrip. Racing as some of the last cars on the lead lap. Gaughan getting really desperate. Biffle will get underneath him, though, off the exit of turn 2. He tried desperately to get around Waltrip, but he could. Seemed to be a little bit quicker than him. Biffle now to the inside of Mikey. And Waltrip will lose his lap off of turn 2. Now they'll have to battle to be the first car 1 lap down. Waltrip to the bottom to hold off the 77 again for the moment. And now Scott Riggs in the 10 car would be the last driver on the lead lap. He qualified inside the top 5, started in the 4th position today, and he has fallen back quite a bit from the get-go. He's had good qualifying efforts this year. In fact, he had a pole a few races ago in a race in which he had actually blown an engine in back at Phoenix. Finished last in that race. Fire the employee who gave the IRP car. Well, he works for the Busch Series team at Roush. He doesn't work for the Cup Series team anyway. I don't know what that was. I just completely missed the setup last night in the Busch race. It's weird, though, because I qualified third with that same setup, and then somehow in the race, it was just super, super tight in traffic. And we were literally, like, last on speed. Then we made the pit stop adjustments under the pit stop. We had the fastest car. But we were 2 laps down, so we could never come back from it. We did get 1 lap back and still finished 13th, which is respectable for where we were. Not an ideal night, though. No laps led either, so no bonus points in that race, but good thing. On the Busch Series side, big points lead. On the Cup Series side, though, we've ran just as many races. The points lead's only 78 coming into this race over Dale Earnhardt Jr., who obviously led laps early on in this race, started on the pole, and so he's got 5 bonus points. As far as we know, he could still be in second place as well. So Biffle's going to have to be on his A-game for that reason, with Dale Jr. having a good start. Biffle finished 3rd at the New York City road course. Dale Jr. finished right behind him in 4th, and Biffle had actually passed Jr. with 2 to go to take away 3rd place. Almost got beat out by him 2 races in a row. I'm not old enough to remember Dale versus Terry at Bristol. I've obviously seen it before. The rivalries both years they had there in the mid-90s, but I was born in 99, so I wasn't even alive. Fake Alex Bowman, welcome into the chat. 171 car was already a lap down, just got ran into the wall by Greg Biffle. Biffle got tight off the exit of turn 2 and got right up into the side of him. And once they made initial contact, Biffle couldn't get off of him. I believe he's the first car to go a 2nd lap down. That isn't Mike Murphy, who was already out of the race, of course. Lead was about 2.8 seconds. Biffle lost a few tenths of a second a couple laps ago in making the contact with the 171. Just over 100 laps complete already today at Bristol. This race is not even a half hour old. Close to it, but not quite there yet. Due to no cautions, of course, today. It's making for a very fast race pace. Right front tire starting to wear out on Greg Biffle's number 16 National Guard Ford. Ricky Craven, I believe already 1 lap down as well. Trying not to go a 2nd lap down. Jamie McMurray, Rusty Wallace, and Mark Martin would be the last 3 cars on the lead lap. Biffle maintaining a 2.5 second lead over 2nd place. He definitely seems like the one to beat early on. And we still have about 50 laps until Biffle is going to end up hitting pit road. Maybe just over 50 laps still to go. We might see green flag pit stops before that from the rest of the field, but Biffle definitely not going to short pit. It bit him in the Busch race at IRP. He short pitted. We had a caution in the middle of green flag pit stops and trapped him 2 laps down. He does not want that here when he knows he has the fastest car. Unlike IRP, it wasn't the case. Don't want to take yourself out of a good shot to win. Biffle under Jamie McMurray. Gonna pick him behind the slower 45 car of Kyle Petty, who will now lose a 2nd lap. McMurray first car, 1 lap down in the 42. Biffle under Rusty Wallace. Wallace actually gave up a lot of room on the bottom that time. I thought he might have tried to close in the center of the corner. He did not. Oh, he just sideswipes Biffle that time. Now he crowded him. A little later than what Biffle expected. And Biffle's teammate, Mark Martin, also trapped behind the car already, 1 lap down to Terry Labonte. Wallace to the inside of Mark Martin for position as he finds his way back down to the bottom again, but Brian Vickers is about to be in the free pass spot as he'll go lap down. Biffle should clear him off the exit of turn 2. The Rady's running right now. He will clear him, but Rusty Wallace will follow Biffle. And he'll also get to the inside of Vickers, and now to the inside of Austin Hamilton in the 122, who's going to lose a lap. 153's already 1 lap down. Wallace may get stuck on the outside behind Hamilton. Vickers with a crossover on Rusty Wallace. So one rookie battling a veteran. And Vickers now with the bumper to Wallace. Couple times there. And Hamilton goes down to block the 25. Largest lead of the race now for Biffle, 2.9 seconds. Leads fluctuated quite a bit in the lap traffic. For the most part, Biffle is slowly pulling away, but they'll even out and move back and forth a couple tenths of a second every now and then. Biffle should be able to pull that lead out a little bit more, you would think. He's got a bit more clean air and clean traffic ahead of him, where he catches guys like Dale Jarrett and Ricky Rudd and others. Quarter tank of gas left for Biffle at the start-finish line. Lap 123. Hit the halfway mark at about lap 82. So again, probably eyeballing about lap 160 to 161 would be Greg Biffle's pit stop. Assuming we don't get a caution before that. These guys have gone a long ways on their tires to start this race. It's asking a lot on this concrete surface. Really any track to have 125 laps on your tires. But as demanding as Bristol is, one of the more demanding racetracks on the circuit, this, Darlington, Dover, probably right up there with the most demanding tracks on the circuit. This is going to be a real testament to who can keep great control of their car the longest if this is a race that's going to turn into a lot of long green flag runs. We haven't seen a caution-free cup race yet this season, although we have seen 4 caution-free Busch races after last night's first race of the doubleheader at Michigan went caution-free. Ran 12 races in the Busch Series side. This is race 11 for the Cup side. And then 12 would be tomorrow night in the Brickyard 400 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And Ricky Rudd gonna go a lap down. Biffle got hung up on him. Some contact off the exit of turn 4. Biffle did a good job keeping it off the wall. He got the wall very lightly once off the exit of turn 2 very early in the race. It's the only time he's even touched the wall yet today. It's still one thing, and I know I've mentioned it in the past, but I wish this game had that NASCAR Thunder 2004 has. Really, there's a couple things. The one, major thing is the leaderboard that pops up every time you cross the start-finish line, so at least you can see the 2 cars in front of you, the 2 cars behind you every lap when you cross the line, or in this case, because we're leading, it would show the top 5, and it would show the intervals, but we don't have that here. The only interval we have is back to second. We're not sure who that driver is as of right now. We're assuming it's still Dale Earnhardt Jr., but we don't really know for sure, especially now that we're 135 laps in. It could really be anybody at this point. Especially if we know that Biffle has not lapped him yet. Biffle's definitely logging in a lot of laps led. He's easily led over 100 laps in this race. Despite qualifying 5th, he got up there pretty quickly. Just over 10 laps to get to the lead on Dale Jr. And he's led every lap since. Dale Jarrett, Casey Mears, Jeff Burton. Trying to hope we get a caution at some point. Dale Jarrett putting the bumper to Casey Mears in turns 3 and 4. Side by side for position with Jarrett on the bottom, Mears on the outside. Jarrett will pull clear. Mears still stuck up high. Biffle gets the run underneath him. Into turns 3 and 4. So not only Mears loses a position because of the bump and run from Jarrett, but it probably allowed Biffle to get to Mears a lot easier to put him a lap down as well. 1/8 of a tank of fuel left for Biffle. Really, when it comes to Bristol, the first 400 laps are all about surviving, and then by about lap 350 to 400 is where you're really just trying to put yourself in position so you have a shot to win the race. Then the final, really, 100 laps is go time, and it's no quit attitude from then on to the finish. Just want to make your way through the first couple pit stops first, and just give yourself a shot for late in the race is really the big idea here. Do a season to get Mark Martin that elusive championship. If you guys vote for me to run Martin in any of the future games going forward, we'll still obviously have some times for you guys to vote for him. You know, whether you guys wait for maybe the NASCAR 09 or the Technic Series for running with Hendrick Motorsports, or if it's with Roush. You guys have the say in who I races for one of the seasons at least. Your next opportunity would be NASCAR 06, which would be Martin's final year in the 6 car. Heard somebody made contact probably on pit road. Green flag pit stop started a couple laps ago, though, and they are obviously going on as we speak. Biffle overdrives turn 3. They got into the wall. Didn't help he was in the dirty air behind the lap car of Don Evans. This could allow the second, third, fourth on back place cars to gain time if they short pit on Biffle, but it is a major risk because, again, at a short track, you're going to lose 2 laps. If we get a caution in the middle of green flag pit stops and you haven't made your stop yet, so far, over half the field is pit, and it's been pretty clean. Difficult pit road to get off of more than to get on. You really just got to watch the traffic. So you have cars coming in as you're leaving pit road. in similar positions because you have a pit road on the backstretch and the front stretch. It's not just one continuous pit road like every other track on the circuit. This one unique in that aspect. Right rear as well as both the front tires in the yellow right now as far as the wear for Biffle. The Mr. Clean Crew is about to go to work here very shortly. There it is. Biffle has a 2-lap lead on the field currently. If we got a caution right now, that would be extremely beneficial to Greg Biffle, and that would take a lot of drivers out of a shot to win. Barring a caution in another weird spot later in this race, or of course if drivers are able to race their way back onto the lead lap. Biffle's waiting till lap 160 to pit. We're at lap 158 right now. He will have to pit on the front stretch. So again, his pit box will be on the front stretch. He'll stay out this time by and he'll pit the following time by. Biffle sliding in line. He's just going to have to make sure he's going to be on the bottom lane this entire next lap, so that way he can make an easy go around into the pits. Underneath the 22, rookie Scott Wimmer. So there we are, lap 160. Biffle clears Wimmer off of turn 2. Plenty of room to get down to the bottom of the racetrack. 70 miles an hour is the pit road speed limit at every track on this game. This one no different. He'll easily coast his way on. No adjustments, 4 tires and fuel for the Mr. Clean Crew and for Greg Biffle as he's on pit road for his first pit stop of the day under green flag conditions at Bristol, as we are still caution free. First break in the action for any of these drivers. And Biffle will work his way back up onto the racetrack. And it looks like he still has the lead. And I believe the reason why his lead went from 3 seconds down to about 1.5 is mainly because they had pitted a few laps before him. That was just enough time gained on the racetrack. And they maybe could have even gained more time if it wasn't for potentially heavy lap traffic for wherever and whomever was in second place. Biffle trying to get underneath his teammate Kurt Busch to put him a lap down. Dale Jarrett, Casey Mears, they kind of pulled away. They were on the verge of going a lap down. Mears actually was a lap down, but he has cycled ahead of Biffle by pitting before him. Mears caught behind the 176 car, and now we have one car blowing up on the apron of the racetrack. That's Bobby Labonte in the 18 for Joe Gibbs Racing, and that Chevrolet has now blown up. So tough break for Labonte as he'll try to coast it into the pits. He's on the back straightaway right now, so he's probably going to have to pit on the front stretch. Not far after pit stops either, so that is a really tough break that they were not able to diagnose the issue while he was on pit road the first time. And the spur-of-the-moment engine failure will take Bobby Labonte out of a shot to win in the Food City 500 tonight. That's the third lap Kyle Petty has lost already in this one. Jarrett finds himself behind Mears. Mears got around him a couple laps ago. Jarrett trying to cross him over. He's back to the inside now. No bump and run this time. From the 88 to the 41. Biffle underneath the Mears. He'll put him a lap down easily. Biffle Pretty flat off the exit of turn 4 as he tries to get underneath Dale Jarrett as well. Jarrett trying to squeeze Biffle. Finds himself underneath Jeff Burton. Burton slides down in front of his teammate. Biffle's definitely lapped a lot of cars in this one so far. Unable to tell exactly how many he's lapped, but he has lapped quite a few. Leads down to, or sorry, up to 2 seconds. It was a second and a half when he came out of the pit, so he is increasing that lead a little bit. Slightly fresher tires, but that'll wear off after about 20 laps or so. He's only got a few lap fresher tires. Jarrett now the first car 1 lap down again. I think Robbie Gordon in the 31, which is still 4 cars ahead of where Biffle is at, would be the last car in the lead lap. I don't believe Robbie Gordon is a lap down yet. There's 17 people watch right now, only 6 likes. Smash the like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. The goal is 20 likes tonight on the stream. We have 6 currently. 20 to 30 is our average peak during these Cup Series video game races. Whether it's NASCAR 21 Ignition or this game, NASCAR Chase for the Cup 2005. So pitting at lap 160, if we somehow stay green all the way through the second fuel run of the race as well, which would be impressive in and of itself, let alone trying to get the whole race to go caution-free. The fact that we made it through 1 round of green flag pit stops under green flag conditions is already impressive. Still a long ways to go in this one. And at least 2 more pit stops still to come. We'll just have to see what will unfold. Almost slid up into Banks. He lifted off the exit of turn 4, trying to give Banks as much room as possible. Now he'll clear him in the middle of turns 1 and 2. Almost a lap 200 already. I wonder what the longest green flag run in history is at Bristol. There's no way this track has had a caution-free race. Ever. Just so that's tightly confined as it is and how many cars on the track, there's just no way. Spread out as it gets over time. I've never even been to the state of Texas. Nope. I have not been there. One of the many states I have never been to, I guess. I've been to a lot. I've been to a lot of the states east of the Mississippi. There's very few states I've not been east of the Mississippi, but west of the Mississippi, the only one I've been to is California. And I didn't drive there, so I didn't go to any states in between. I was flying over them, and it was at night. I didn't get to see it. I'm not even going to count those states. If we're getting around Robbie Gordon in the 31. Largest lead of the day for Greg Biffle, not counting when he had a 2-lap lead in the middle of green flag pit stops because he was the last car to pit, but a 3.8 second lead right now over second place. Still isn't gigantic by any means, especially considering this green flag run's almost 200 laps in. Just how competitive the top portion of the field is, and that's kind of been the way if you look at the point standings as well, why it's so close 10 races in. Contact with Derek Cope through turns 1 and 2. Biffle makes the pass on Cope. Now over a 4-second lead for the Biff. Now granted, again, I said that I feel like we were going to get at least a couple cautions in this race today, and we still have about 300 laps to go. But comment in the chat down below, you think this is the first Cup Series race we're going to see go caution-free this season? We had it happen on NASCAR Thunder in 2004 a couple times. We haven't had it with NASCAR 05, at least during this custom schedule season for the Cup Series. Again, we have for truck races and bush races in the past. And we did have it for, I believe, 2 Cup races last season as well. We are 200 laps complete out of 500 and still no caution. Outside of some bump and runs, we haven't seen some sketchy moments like it looked like we were super close to getting the yellow either. Just casual bump and runs throughout the field, whether it's been Biffle putting the moves on. Nobody's touched Biffle's back bumper yet, though I don't think anybody's really had the speed to be able to do it outside of potentially Dale Jr. at the start. Billy says 5 cautions. He thinks it's going to just turn into a... Well, I guess that's not a wreck fest by Bristol standards. 300 laps, I mean, that's an average of a caution every just over 50 laps. What, about 66 laps would be every caution? That average? From here. Under the 151. Patrick says no cautions. He thinks it'll go caution-free tonight. Justin Hutt, welcome to the stream. He predicts 2 yellows. I know Biffle would like this to stay caution-free the way it's running right now. Obviously, he's going to have to bank on still having 2 more clean stops in this race, too. Hopefully not speed onto pit road as well. If I remember right, I think it was Talladega we had 2 pit road speeding penalties in that race, but we have not had a pit road speeding penalty all season except for 2 in the same race at Talladega. I just could not get the car slowed up in that one. Hard to go from over 190 miles an hour down to 70. Especially because he was trying not to lock the tires up because we were only taking 2 tires when we were pitting during green flag conditions, so trying not to lock the tires up and hit pit road speed, dropping it over 120 miles an hour. That's no easy task. Joshua Rumsey says 1 caution. Thanks for tuning in as well. Well, while you guys are predicting that and answering that question down in the chat, we got another question for you guys to answer down in the chat. Our nightly trivia question, we missed it last night during the doubleheader. We had a lot of action in both races, and the Busch races are a lot shorter, so it is harder to cram it in. But in this Cup Series race, because we missed last night, we'll have a 2-part trivia question that will be answered at the halfway mark. But here is the question so you guys see if anybody gets it down in the chat. Last night we raced our second race of the doubleheader at the Indianapolis Raceway Park. That would be IRP, now known as the Lucas Oil Raceway in Indianapolis, Indiana. Our 2-part question is, who is the driver to win the last Xfinity Series race at the racetrack? It was back in 2011. I'll give you that hint. So in 2011 was the last Xfinity race at the Indianapolis Raceway Park. Who was the last driver to win an Xfinity race at that track? And then who was the last Xfinity Series regular to win a race at the Indianapolis Raceway Park? That question obviously is going to be an Xfinity Series regular, so that already gives you a hint. In 2011 it was a Cup Series regular that won at the Indianapolis Raceway Park, but 2008 was the last time an Xfinity Series regular won that race. So you're trying to predict the winners of the Xfinity Series races at IRP. 2008, 2011 down in the chat. 2011 was a Cup regular. 2008 was an Xfinity regular at the time. And that will be answered at the halfway mark tonight. Biffle still moseying his way through the lap traffic. We're almost halfway home, only about 31 laps away. 31 laps at Bristol, only going to take a few minutes. And try not to Google those trivia questions as well. Try to answer them as truthfully as possible. Down in the chat, see if, even if you don't know it off the top of your head, try to see if you can guess them. So the field started to pit just shy of lap 150. If they end up only going that far again, they might be pitting between lap 280 and 290. So most of the field is probably going to end up hitting pit road for their second stop. Biffle should be able to go a bit further than that. Joshua says that it was Logano and Jason Keller. Neither one of those two are right. I'd say you were kind of close on both of them, though. But none of them are right. Furfur Express says Scott Dix. Xfinity race, not IndyCar. Xfinity. I swear. Yes. Xfinity race, not Indy 500. I know 2011 Scott Dick, Dan Weldon won in 2011. I don't know who won the Indy 500 in 2008. I'm not that familiar with the Speedway. I know who has won and who hasn't, but to get the years right, I couldn't tell you. 2010s I'd be more correct, but into the 2000s not so much. Like the late 2000s and then early 2010s excluding 2011, I'd have a hard time trying to guess the Indy 500 winners. But like anywhere from the early 2000s or mid 2010s to now, I can get. Remember him winning it or Jimmy. I mean, Scott Dixon wouldn't have won the Xfinity race. Boyer and Harvick is not correct either. And then also Patrick, looking at the chat, getting into turn 3, a little bit of a mistake there for the Biff. Patrick Shadley also said Ron Hornaday. That is not correct as well. I don't think Hornaday was in the Xfinity Series full-time in 2008 either. I think he was a full-time truck guy at that point. Buddy Rice won the 500 in 2008. Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that. ...2004, not 2008, winning the... ...for Rice winning... Oh! You have to fact-check yourself? It's effing Jimmy. No, it's not Jimmy. Jimmy Johnson only has one career Xfinity Series win. It was at Chicagoland. I'm going to guess 2001. Not 100% sure on the year. I would assume it was 2001. Oddly enough, he never won at Chicagoland in his Cup Series career, but his only career Xfinity win came at Chicagoland. Yeah, I haven't seen either answer correct yet down in the chat. Again, the Cup Series regular won in 2011, Xfinity Series regular in 2008. Allgaier and Edwards. Neither one is correct there either. You guys have 8 more laps to try and figure it out. That's how many laps away from halfway we are. Jarrett, no. I don't even think Jarrett was in the Cup Series anymore that late. He retired, I think 2008 was Jarrett's last season in the Cup Series. Or it might have been 2007. I know he ran some races in the Car of Tomorrow, but I can't remember if it would have been 08 or 07 that he retired. Cerebral Assassin, welcome to the stream. Can we get unlimited time? No. I think 31 laps is enough time for you guys to try and figure it out. Casey Kane, that is not one of them either. That's another good guess. I swear. Nope. You said you watched it when you said Scott Dixon, and I don't remember Scott Dixon ever racing in NASCAR. Indianapolis Raceway Park. Again, not the Oval. Indianapolis Raceway Park. Paul Menard would not be right either. It's still staying at 4 seconds for Greg Biffle right now. I'm guessing at this point. I can see that. That's all right. You never know. You could guess and get it right. Or in this case, partially right because it was a two-parter. Cross flags, we're halfway home. Still caution-free in the Food City 500 at Bristol. 250 laps complete, another 250 still to go. Greg Biffle has a 4.1 second lead over second place. So again, our trivia question tonight means we raced at the Indianapolis Raceway Park last night on the Busch Series side of our custom schedule season NASCAR 05. That is where our trivia question came from. I asked you guys who won the last Xfinity Series race at the Indianapolis Raceway Park in 2011. It was a Cup Series regular, and the answer is Brad Keselowski. I've not seen that down in the chat below. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. No. Brad Keselowski won the 2011 race. And Joshua, you did get the 2008 race that was won by an Xfinity regular, the last Xfinity Series regular to win a Xfinity Series race, or I guess at that time would have been nationwide race at the Indianapolis Raceway Park, was Jason Leffler. So you got half of it right. Nobody said Keselowski, though, down in the chat. You did get it halfway, though. That's why I said Keller was close, because for whatever reason I felt like that was a close pick. But I also said close with Joey Logano earlier because he's teammates, or at least was teammates with Keselowski for a long time. I guess Logano would have been with Gibbs at that point. But after the fact, I'm sure you could guess why I said close. I understand why I said close. So again, the answer was Jason Leffler in 2008, and then Brad Keselowski in 2011. Keselowski actually won the championship in 2011 for the Xfinity Series. He was a Cup Series regular at the time, but also ran full-time in the Xfinity Series, taking home the title that year. That was the last year that Cup Series regulars were able to compete for championships in the lower series. It was abolished in 2012. And now, they can't even run more than 5 races in the Xfinity Series. Kyle Busch would have been a good guess considering how many wins he has in the Xfinity Series. But none of the 102 were in 2008 or 2011 at IRP. And that was our trivia question of the night. Presented by Food Shitty. I can tell you that you were guessing you didn't look it up, because I feel like if anybody would have looked it up, they would have gotten them both right. In the same guess. Almost like Keselowski, but you picked Edwards. Edwards won, and when I was looking it up, it was either 2009 or 2010. I know he won one of the last races at IRP, but it wasn't the last one for the Xfinity Series. Keselowski was the 2011 winner. I was wondering if somebody was going to get the 2011 one only because I know Keselowski won the championship that year, even though he was a Cup Series regular. So I was wondering if anybody else is going to just guess him for that reason. I'm actually surprised that somebody got the Leffler one right, not that one. Jimmy Johnson's the last car on the lead lap right now. Jeff Burton's already 1 lap down. His teammate and race leader Greg Biffle going to try to put him a 2nd lap down. That lead has dropped just a bit. It was 4.2 seconds at its furthest point. Now it's down to about 3.3 to 3.4. And we are very close to our second set of green flag pit stops if we don't see a caution. And we are still caution-free in this one, for those of you wondering. Daytona International Speedway, welcome to the stream. Laughing at the name of the channel. Appreciate you tuning in. How am I feeling about Atlanta this weekend? I'm still staying cautiously optimistic. I hope it puts on the similar great super speedway racing that Daytona and Talladega has been bringing on a yearly basis the last few years especially, but at the same time, I just have a bad feeling that it could potentially be not a train race. It would be an unintentional train race if it is a train race. I think it'll be more of a follow the leader kind of race. Like, it might be easier to pass in the pack, potentially. I just have a feeling with the fresher surface and the fact that it's only a mile and a half and not a 2.5 mile track, I just have a bad feeling that the leader is going to have a ton of grip on the bottom. You're going to have to pass him up high because it's only a mile and a half, and the width from top to bottom is only 28 feet. That's narrow. That's the same width as Charlotte Motor Speedway. And that's the most narrowest mile and a half on the circuit. Now Atlanta is too. It's going to be easy to block the lanes, I just feel like. I just feel like track position, qualifying is going to matter a lot because of it. Track position is going to be big. Pit stops, all that included. It's going to be big this weekend. It's going to be hard to lose the lead. They're going to be close, compacted together. It's almost going to look like the 550 package in a way where if a car is faster in second than a car in front of him, say, the leader, but they can't get around him because he's got the clean air, I think that's going to play into effect, but it's not going to be because of clean air or dirty air. It's going to be because of the package. And not because of the airflow with the package either. It's going to be because of the reduced horsepower and the fact that it's a narrow racetrack. Jimmy Johnson was running that beautiful Pride of America paint scheme as well, so you got two patriotic schemes, considering Biffle's National Guard scheme is patriotic for obvious reasons. It is a National Guard paint scheme. Field racing at Michigan. Last year's Michigan, potentially. But even last year's Michigan had passing for the lead. It was just when the Hendrick cars would kind of tandem together, that's where there was no passing. That, and then on that last restart, Blaney was able to block the lanes pretty well. I can see where you're saying that, though. I can see why you're saying that. Atlanta's a super speedway. Well, it's like a mini super speedway. It's only a mile and a half still, but they're trying to make Packer. They're literally running the same super speedway package they did at Daytona. Laid down to 3.2 seconds. Go to the booth on NBC. Rick Allen's still on the younger side of things. I don't see him being out of the booth anytime soon. I am curious as to when Mike Joy may retire. I know he's stated in interviews over the last few years that he doesn't have any plans to, and I can understand that, but at the same time, it's got to be somewhat tiring on him to carry the workload of the Fox broadcast each of the last two seasons especially. Ever since both DW and Larry McReynolds jumped out of the booth, that he's basically having to teach while commentate the race on the fly, especially this year. This year's got to be torture for him. I mean, he's literally teaching somebody new almost every week. And then Boyer's still only in his second season. They can get off the handle a couple times, and kind of Mike Joy has to kind of reel everything back together. It almost doesn't even feel like Mike Joy in the booth sometimes. It's like a substitute teacher trying to keep control of a wild high school class full of a bunch of jocks. That's what it feels like. That's the best comparison I've got for what Mike Joy's trying to do with the Fox broadcast this season. He's earning his paycheck every week, I'll tell you that much. Oof. Biffle into the back bumper of, I think that's Ricky Rudd in front of him. No, Ricky Rudd's the next car further up ahead. I believe it's the 171. Either the 171 or the 177. Holding up Greg Biffle a little bit more. Lead down to about 3 seconds. It's the 171 car in front of the Biff. Now Biffle slides underneath him. Sign up for it. I can't just sign up for it. I don't even know how I would contact him. Like, how would you give, like, a job application? That, they probably don't even have the job available. If it's like any other job, the job would probably have to be available for you to actually apply for it. You know what I mean? Like, if I were to apply for it, I'd have to apply for an open position. I don't think you could just apply for, you know, a non-open position because they wouldn't even be hiring. I'm sure they're probably hiring in some aspects, but, you know, as far as, like, I mean, think about it. There's 2 pit reporters. It used to be 4. Ever since the pandemic, it's 2. There's 2 pit reporters, and there's 2 to 3 guys in the booth, and that's it. Like, that's it. So those jobs are very difficult to come by. Own Racing Network. Keegan T.W. Dale Jr. That would be electric. I'd have fun with that. That just sounds like fun, though. Ash and G, welcome to the stream. No problem for being late, man. Still got a lot of racing yet to go. Closing in on lap 300 today at Bristol. Still caution free. We're in the middle of green flag pit stops for the 2nd time today, as Greg Biffle is going to stay out as long as he can in case we get a caution. Again, we have not had one yet today. Tires are getting extremely worn out once again. Oh, Petty kind of pinched Biffle off. Oh, man, Brendan Gaughan pulled up nearly into the side of Petty. Biffle saw that near catastrophe happening right in front of him, so he jammed on the brakes in the middle of the back straightaway. So he wasn't sure if Gaughan was going to keep pulling up into the side and potentially hook the 45 or not. Biffle was more in a better safe than sorry situation there. Yeah, I just kind of talked about, oh my goodness. More near contact in turns 3 and 4. That time it was Ricky Rudd coming out of the pits, and they were 3 wide getting into turn 3, and I don't think we've seen 3 wide yet today. Now they were again in turns 1 and 2. Contact between Scott Riggs and Ricky Rudd. Both the most recent cars in front of Biffle to come out of the pits. Another lap car coming out onto the racetrack. Casey Mears pinches Biffle off. Ricochets into Ricky Craven. Things are getting wild here at Bristol as Biffle slides into turn 3. Newman coming out of the pit lane. Bottom of the racetrack. Oh, and he hooks Ricky Rudd, who is trying to come into the pits. Biffle escapes to the outside of the racetrack. Biffle very fortunate they didn't slide up into the wall. I think Craven came into the pits and was trying to pit as Newman was coming out. Newman just about hooked the 32. Just less than 200 laps to go. We are still caution free today at Bristol at lap 305 of 500. And about 1/8 of a tank left for Biffle. He can still go quite a ways on fuel. He's got a 1-lap lead on everybody right now. And it will be a 2-lap lead before long once some of the lap cars who haven't pitted yet will make their stop. Biffle staying out in case we get a caution. We've almost seen a couple of them in the last few laps. Anyway, what I was saying, I was just talking about the Atlanta being like Daytona or Talladega. I don't think it'll be exactly like it, in my personal opinion. But I could be wrong. Obviously, I haven't seen any pack racing yet on that racetrack. I mean, I think they've only had single-car tests, or maybe I think they had a 3-car test there. But that's as many cars as they've had in a test session with the next-gen car at Atlanta since the repave. I wouldn't really buy much off of that. From what the drivers are saying in that aspect. I think it's going to be hard to pass the leader. I think there will be passing in the pack, but trying to get around the leader is going to be a tough task. With it being such a short track, it's going to be a little harder to get speeds up. It's really narrow, so I think over time there may still be some lifting. If there's no lifting, I think it's going to be because of how grippy the track is and how much grip the track has, considering the fact it's freshly repaved. But as it starts to get more wear, they're going to have to lift over the years. It's inevitable with that small of a width. And again, it's 1 mile shorter than Daytona or Talladega. Speeds themselves, I think, are going to be down. In the draft, you were seeing speeds in the probably mid to upper 190s at the very most at Daytona during the 500. I feel like the speeds this weekend, it's probably going to be in the mid 180s, mid to low 180s. So they'll be down, which will also make it a little harder to pass because the speeds will be down. Those are my bold predictions, at least. I'll definitely be talking about it more in the predictions video. It'll be uploaded before the race on Sunday. Greg Biffle underneath the 21 of Ricky Rudd. Big line of lap cars towards the outside of the racetrack right now. Brendan Gaughan in the 77 up there as well. We are at lap 315. And Biffle will be coming into pit very, very shortly. Drives under Bo Banks. Now Kyle Petty. Wisher said it feels like Michigan when he tested at Atlanta. I could see that just with how, I mean, Michigan's not a narrow track by any means, but with how fast it is and the package they run at Michigan where you do have to lift a little bit, especially with the next gen car, you're going to have to lift a lot more, lower downforce, higher horsepower compared to what we have had in the last few years. Greg Biffle will pit at lap 320, so he'll pit this time by. That'll be a 160-lap fuel and tire stint, just like he had earlier. So Biffle will come in this time. 4 tires and fuel for the Biff. 70 miles an hour is a pit road speed limit. It'll easily get down in time. No adjustments to the 16 car under stop number 2. And we'll see. Mr. Clean Crew going to work for the second time today. Seth Thomas, welcome to the stream. Again, if you're just tuning in, we are caution-free in the Food City 500 at Bristol. Still a little less than 200 laps to go, and one more pit stop yet to the end of this race as well. That window will open up in about another 20 to 30 laps. Biffle working his way back up to speed. Bottom of the racetrack. And the lead is down to about 2.5 seconds. It's been as many as just over 4 seconds today, but it hasn't been under 1.5 seconds in a long time. And Greg Biffle has led every lap since taking the lead just after 10 laps into this race from Dale Jr. As far as we know, Kevin Harvick should be the last car in the lead lap in front of Greg Biffle right now. Running the beautiful blue and yellow Goodwrench Chevrolet paint scheme today. A lot of cars who are already a lap down are right in front of Harvick, like Joe Nemechek, Brian Vickers. Hall in the 176, Robbie Gordon. 153 up ahead as well in front of Robbie Gordon. Harvick holding the bottom. Biffle not able to get underneath him right now. He's going to sit and wait behind him for the time being. That lead is quickly up over 3 seconds again. So Biffle can probably take this until about lap 380 to take it at his furthest during this current green flag run. Or sorry, lap 480, not 380. Lap 480 would be the third stop of the day for Biffle. So he's probably about 20 laps short on fuel. .153 got really out of shape in turns 1 and 2. I thought he was going to take a chunk out of Biffle's right side. Biffle underneath Harvick. Low dive off the exit of turn 4, trying to trap the 29 behind his teammate Paul Menard in the 33. Little contact between Menard and Biffle. Biffle has cleared Menard. Harvick almost got into the back of his teammate, but Harvick is now the first car 1 lap down. Menard is multiple laps down in the 33 car. The dirt Daytona 500. Just sounds dangerous. On dirt at that big of a track. I mean, they're not going to go as fast. Definitely not going to be pack racing anymore either. That's a lot of money, too, to bring in that much dirt. I mean, it's got to be costing Bristol a pretty, or costing NASCAR a pretty penny, or SMI a pretty penny. I guess it'd be SMI because it's an SMI track. That's only half mile. You need 5 times as much dirt as what they would be bringing into Bristol. That's a lot of dirt. Plus, there's more infield coverage than what there is at Bristol. Probably more than 5 times as much. That definitely would not be a wise business plan. Don't give them any ideas either, Derek. I don't know if Jeff Green's on the lead lap or not. I don't remember Biffle catching the 43 car at all earlier in the race. He's definitely caught the 0 to 2 in the 97 already. So Harvick will remain in that free pass position at least for a little bit longer. 4-second lead right now for the Biff. Kurt Busch diving onto pit road, as well as Dale Jarrett coming in. So some of the cars that were already a lap down are short pitting as the window is open to the end of the race. Rusty Wallace as well gonna pit. So it's the start of drivers making their final stop. You're not going to see the rest of the cycle out for at least another 100 laps. Probably even more than that. Contact. A couple cars sideswiping each other in turns 3 and 4. Way up ahead. Monte Adams got traded. I didn't see anything about that. Did this happened when I was streaming? I sure hope not. They'd have to take the safer barrier out too, like they did with Bristol Dirt, so it wouldn't ruin the safer barrier. Race won't be caution-free is what Seth's thinking. I mean, I thought we would have at least 2 cautions in today's race. From the get-go, I said we would have at least multiple cautions, which is 2 or more. But we're almost 350. I mean, we will be 350 laps in this time by. It's crazy, though, that we've ran this many laps on this style of racetrack, and yet the lead has not been 5 seconds or more. I think this is the largest lead for Biffle in the race today at 4.5 seconds, outside of, obviously, when he stayed out of the pits longer than everybody else those first 2 stops in case a yellow came out. He had a 2-lap lead on the field briefly, but that was about it. Just now to Las Vegas. My dad's a Raiders fan. He's probably happy about that. I'm sure he'll be rubbing it in my face when I go downstairs after I get done with this race tonight. We have not alternated through the different camera angles yet in this race today. We'll be doing that when we get back to the start-finish line for the first time tonight, this time by. Decent amount of clean air in front of Greg Biffle for the moment. Somebody directly around him at least. See Bush and Wallace who have already pit, so they have a little bit fresher tires than Biffle. Well, maybe 15 to 20 laps fresher tires. Elliott Sadler, I believe, is the last car in the lead lap who's sandwiched in between all those lap cars. 2 directly in front of him and 2 directly behind him, with the race leader Greg Biffle also closing in on this pack of cars. Oh, Kurt Busch just pinched Greg Biffle off. I don't think he realized his teammate was underneath him there. Little contact between the Roush Fenway Fords. Biffle under Sadler. Trying to put him a lap down, and that would mean Kevin Harvick is no longer in the free pass position as Biffle has cleared Sadler off of turn 4. Yeah, we've had a few moments where we've almost seen a yellow right around us, especially right before those second set of pit stops. There was a couple instances. Cars coming up onto the racetrack and trying to get to pit road, like Ricky Craven almost getting turned by Ryan Newman. 3 wide contact, Ricky Rudd and Another lap car who came out of the pits underneath him of Scott Riggs. There was another moment who I couldn't tell who the cars were that happened again, only the lap after those two had made contact in a 3-wide situation. That's really the only time we've seen 3-wide today is when cars have come out of the pit lane. Greg Biffle's not been 3-wide with another car all day today. He'd like to keep it that way. He's had a fairly calm race for himself as far as Bristol standards go. He still sits on about a 4.5 second lead. Only 9 likes right now. Our goal is at least 20 tonight on the stream like it usually is. At least as of right now for our Cup Series races on the channel when it comes to either NASCAR 21 Ignition or NASCAR 05. We consistently seem to pull those numbers in, but tonight only at 9 likes. Have 15 people watching currently. Appreciate all you guys tuning in for the Food City 500 at Bristol. Greg Biffle has dominated this one. He's led over 350 laps up to this point. Trying to get the 16 car back to victory lane. We've had 4 different Cup Series winners in the last 4 Cup races on this season. Winners in that stretch would include Michael Waltrip, Scott Wimmer, Greg Biffle, and Jeff Gordon. Not in that order. Gordon is the most recent winner, though, winning at the New York City street course race last week. It wouldn't work. Dang, a dirt race would not work. We're getting loose. Drove it in way too deep in 3 and 4, trying to get underneath of Dusty Gibson in the 178. Talked about the first 350 to 400 laps just being survival, then just trying to push hard to the end from there. I think Biffle's still in that survival aspect mode right now, and I don't think he's going to be in that full guns blazing mode those final 100 laps unless we get a caution that stacks things up. Because he feels kind of comfortable with a 4.5 second lead right now. He hasn't taken really any risks today trying to get around lap cars for the most part. Put the bump and run on a few drivers, but few and far between. By far the longest green flag run as far as laps go this season. Biffle gets around both Gibson and Scott Riggs through turns 1 and 2. Definitely not sure who the last car the lead lap is anymore. Crazy thing is, Greg Biffle hasn't had to make any adjustments with this race car during the first 2 stops today with all this rubber being laid on the track and no time for it to wash away in any way, shape, or form under a caution. Sitting at about a 3.8 to 3.9 second lead now. It's dropped a few tenths over the last couple laps. Nothing concerning, at least for the moment. Just going to have to monitor that over the next probably 30 to 40 laps if we're really going to be able to tell if somebody will make a push or not. That is also depending on lap traffic, as always, with any race, but especially on a short track. Contact with the 153. Got a lot of contact. I thought somebody was blowing up into turns 3 and 4, but oh yeah, somebody did blow up. Okay, it was Robbie Gordon in the 31. I thought I saw a trail of smoke somewhere, but then I didn't see him anymore. I guess he got down to the bottom of the racetrack, so he's hidden there briefly. Third driver now to blow an engine today, and that will end Robbie Gordon's night early. Biffle gonna lap Derek Cope again. At least the third time he's passed him. Robbie Gordon still on the bottom of the track trying to get to pit road. And he will get there. Spuddy, welcome to the stream. We're almost at 100 laps to go here at Bristol. Sparks flying up ahead. Terry Labonte and Paul Menard might have made contact. They're side by side right now. Might be for position. Ricky Craven rather in there as well. I know they're all multiple laps down. Maybe battling for spots on the racetrack. Cars that I know for a fact that Greg Biffle has not caught, and they would still be on the lead lap because they have not blown an engine yet either, would be Tony Stewart, Dale Jr., Jeff Gordon. Outside of that, I think maybe Casey Kane. I don't remember catching him at all. And maybe Ryan Newman. I don't remember catching him either. But off the top of my head, those are the only drivers I can think of that Greg Biffle has not lapped yet in this race. Terry Labonte put more contact to another driver. This time it's with rookie Scott Wimmer. So he did it with Menard already, and now he's doing it with Wimmer. Nope, no cautions yet. Oh, Matt Kenseth also. Biffle has not caught Kenseth either. So that would be, if you count Biffle, that would be 8 drivers on the lead lap, at least. There might be more drivers I might have missed as well. Honestly, considering that we're almost 400 laps into the run, I'm surprised we don't have more cars lapped down. I would have thought that we honestly would only have like 3 or 4 on the lead lap, but that was 8 drivers we just named that are not a lap down yet. They're still in this race, as far as we know. Yeah, if you would have told me Bristol would be the first caution-free race for the Cup Series side on the custom schedule season, I would not have believed you. Still have a little bit of a ways to go. 100 laps at Bristol's not a long time by any means. We saw how quick the first 400 laps have gone, especially caution-free. We're still just less than 2 hours into this race. Most of the field still has to make one more pit stop yet in this race as well. There have been some drivers who pitted as soon as that window opened with about 160 laps to go. Biffle won't have to pit at the furthest for about another 80 laps roughly. He can go to about lap 480 before he has to pit. That's where he'll be stretching it in case we get a caution as well in the middle of green flag pit stops. As the crew chief stated, it is a long race. As far as laps go, Biffle doing a swell job right now. And again, he's kept his composure all race long. He hasn't been racing overly aggressively. Just needs to put these last 100 laps together like he's put the first 400 together in dominating fashion. Again, it has helped. He hasn't had to deal with any restarts. Pit stops under the caution flag where potentially he could lose spots there as well. It's been smooth sailing. Outside of qualifying 5th in those first few positions, he had to pass on the track overall. He hasn't had to pass anybody for position since. He's held on to the lead following the green flag pit stops both times as well. A lot of laps have been passed since you've been here. That's what the wow in the chat was probably for, I'm assuming. It's how quick it flies by, though, on these short tracks. That's why they're 400, 500 laps. Especially when they're caution-free like this. I mean, we're going to get this race done in less than 2.5 hours at this pace. Biffle squeezed just a little bit by Ward Burton. Not giving Biffle a lot of room. Biffle had his nose underneath him. A little contact with his teammate Jeff Burton as well. Wade Solinsky, welcome to the stream. Childhood at your local game store yesterday. They have it. I should have bought it. Are you talking about this game? It's well worth the nostalgic trip. Especially if you're a NASCAR fan. This is my favorite NASCAR game of all time. The lead's been about 4.5 seconds at the most, currently 4.2. During this run, he came out of the pits, he had about a 2.5 second lead, so he has increased it back again. Probably about 20 to 30 laps ago, it was down to about a 3.8 second lead. It just, again, tends to fluctuate back and forth depending on how lap traffic is for either race leader Greg Biffle or whoever it may be in second place right now. But knowing Dale Jr. is still on the lead lap and is looking like he's going to have a good day, and Biffle only having a 78-point lead, and the fact Dale Jr. started on the pole and led the opening laps to start this race, he knows he has bonus points there. He still may not gain a lot of positions. Or sorry, gain a lot, or pull away a little bit more in the point standings. And this is a season-long points format. We're almost a third of the way through the season. After tomorrow night's Brickyard 400, we'll be exactly 1/3 of the way home. Jeff Gordon also won the lead lap and is also in the top 3 in points. And he actually closed in the point standings after the last race at the New York City Street Course race. He won that race. That was his first win of the season. Dale Jr. has won a Busch Series race, but he has not won a Cup Series race on our custom schedule season yet. We could see history on the channel tonight, though, as far as the first caution-free race of the Cup Series season. So far, fairly clean by Bristol standards. No cautions through 420 laps. Still 80 to go. And still a lot of drivers have to make their final pit stop. It'll be the third one of the day. Joe Nemechek putting the bumper to the 161 car up ahead. Squeezes underneath them. Biffle is there. Barely kept it off the 161. Joe Nemechek giving plenty of room for Biffle to get underneath him. Also multiple laps down, just like the 161 car was. Alternate through the different camera angles one final time in today's race over the next dozen laps. Right front tire starting to wear out a little bit more on the 16. He has just over 100 laps on his tires once again. Seems your 5 caution prediction can be thrown out the window. I'm surprised he said that many, considering we were 200 laps caution free. I did not expect to still stay green up to this point. I expected 2, which we could still see, but I mean, we could still see 5 theoretically if cautions breed cautions late in the race. All it takes 1, and we could see more transpire after the fact. Especially if it's a bigger accident, we see some debris cautions after the fact too. How easy it is for a small, simple single-car spin to turn into a multiple-car accident at Bristol. There's a lot of lap traffic right now in front of Greg Biffle. It slowed him up the last few laps as he's behind Ricky Rudd in the 21 for the Wood brothers. Currently Biffle sitting 3.6 seconds off the lead. He'll get underneath Rudd in turns 3 and 4. 70 laps to go this time by. Biffle passing a couple cars that last lap. Gets around Kyle Petty again as well. Mark DeMars, welcome to the stream. Favorite movie? I'm not a big movie person. I would probably say, and I'm more on the comedy side of things. So, of all time, it's got to be a comedy movie. I'm going to say probably Step Brothers. I think Step Brothers is probably up there. The 176 car blowing an engine on the inside of the racetrack. I think Weekend at Bernie's is up there. That's definitely top 5 for me. I feel like you got to put one 90s Adam Sandler movie on that list too. I don't know which one I'd put on there. I'd probably, oh man, I don't know if I would put Happy Gilmore or Waterboy on there, to be completely honest. Maybe both of them. Billy Madison's funny too. I don't know if I'd put that in my top 5. Probably top 10. Yeah, I think Step Brothers is probably number 1. I'm not really seen a whole lot of action films. Not anything in recent years, at least. Yeah, I'm more on the comedy side of things. I'm all about having a good time. My drama and suspense comes in the world of sports. Yeah, I think Happy Gilmore is... I'd probably put that ahead of Waterboy. It's not by much. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't. It'd be a sliver of a margin. Adam Sandler is extremely hilarious. Honestly, even the grown-up movies, all 4 of those guys. There's 5 in the first one, because I don't know why Rob Schneider wasn't in the second Grown Ups movie. Or why they couldn't get him in that. His character was missing in the second one. "59 laps to go at Bristol in the Food City 500. Greg Biffle leads. The lead is cut down to about 3.2 to 3.3 seconds. During this run, it was as many as about a 4.2 second lead, and in this race, it's been as high as about 4.5 seconds. Still green flag, as we have not had a caution at all in this race. I probably have to throw some racing movie in my top 5 also. Just considering I'm a huge NASCAR fan, and I'd probably have to put Days of Thunder in there. If I had to pick one racing movie, I'd probably pick Days of Thunder. Throw in a top 5. More green flag pit stops going on. All the drivers who have not made their third and final stop yet are doing so at this moment. Greg Biffle can go about another 35 laps or so on fuel, so he will stretch it as far as he can in case we get a yellow. And I would assume he will be the last car to pit once more, like he was during the first 2 sets of green flag pit stops in this race today. One of your favorite car movies? Yeah. I think Days of Thunder has to be the best racing movie of all time. I mean, again, this is all subjective and it's my opinion. Contact with the 153. Biffle up into the wall. Overdrove turn 3 on entry and got into Pete Nelson. An awkward angle into the corner with the contact and ricocheted Biffle into the wall. Just the second time today he has hit the wall in 450 completed laps at Bristol. And both times have been very soft scrapes like that one. That is highly impressive here at Bristol. Did you just say Biffle's exiting pit road ahead? That's us. I swear my crew chief just said that. Somebody needs to go back and rewind that in the chat. I think he said Biffle exiting pit road ahead. Well, Greg Biffle is not pitted yet, as far as we know. Not for the third time, at least. An 8.5 second lead now, as still haven't seen all the lead lap drivers pit. 47 laps to go at the line. Oh, you know what? Major League, I think, has to go up there, too, for funny movies. I think Major League might be that 5th and final movie in the top 5. Oh, trouble! I think it was Pete Nelson coming out of the pit lane and merged 3 wide into turn 1, and sandwiched a couple cars. They somehow did not wreck as we again continue to stay green at Bristol. A lot of people say the original Major League movie is the better one. Personally, I think they're interchangeable between the first or the second. I'd throw either of them in as a top 5 movie. So everybody has pitted except for Greg Biffle now. 40 laps to go. He has a 2-lap lead on the field. Again, he can go to lap 480 before he'll have to pit. And he's just going to take off 4 tires. He doesn't want to go fuel only just in case he doesn't have a lap lead and we do get a caution in the final 20 laps. And he'd be on older tires for the restart. He's led over 400 laps today, which I believe And I may even pause it here just to figure it out, but I believe Biffle has hit the 1,000 lap mark as far as laps led this season, considering the dominance he's put together in this race today. Which is insane considering this is only the 11th race of the year. And still with all those laps led, because he's had 2 DNFs early in the season, his points lead is only 78 coming into this race. Where consistency matters. Yeah, I'll pause it down the back straightaway once. I don't like pausing it, but I just want to check that stat line. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to pause it. I'll check it during the green flag pit stops. I don't like pausing it as much as I possibly could help it. Races are already long enough as it is. That we're in the final 35 laps. I don't want to keep the drama at pause. He's going a lot longer on older tires considering he only had about a 3.3 second lead when second place came into the pits. I mean, that's the only other thing you risk running staying out this long is how much time you are losing. But this is for the easy win if we did get a yellow. Oh, contact. Biffle nearly gets wrecked off of turn 2. Pete Nelson again getting into another car. Biffle made a great save down on the bottom of the racetrack. It's a good thing nobody was underneath him when the contact was made outside of the 153. Clipped him in the left rear. That was a massive save from the Biff. Especially on old tires. Like Nelson just came up off the exit of the corner. I think he was just trying to slide in line behind Biffle. And he mistimed it and about hooked the race leader. By the way, Biffle's only 1 lap ahead of the field now, so that tells me Matt Kenseth's in second place. Because Kenseth had gotten by Biffle when Biffle got really loose. So obviously Kenseth's putting some quick laps together on those fresh tires. If I had to pick my favorite action movie of all time, I'd probably say Day After Tomorrow. Titanic is up there too. I would put that in the top 5. I'd probably say Day After Tomorrow is probably my favorite. I guess Jurassic Park's kind of a, like, I mean, there's some funny moments. It's an action movie, but it's kind of cheesy funny at times, though, throughout it, too. I'd probably have that in the top 5 as far as action films go. Bob Mayo, 66, welcome to the stream. Original Transformers probably up there. "25 laps to go at Michigan. Lap traffic holding back Matt Kenseth a little bit. Biffle closing in on Pete Nelson, the 153 again. Biffle will have to pit. He's the only driver that still has to make his 3rd and final stop of the day. It's like Johnny Sauter's gotten underneath the 17 of Kenseth for the meantime. Holding Kenseth up just a little bit more as he wants to go on fresh tires if he wants any sort of a shot to win. Three laps away from Biffle's 3rd and final stop of the day. He's going to have to make sure he gets on without speeding. And the pit crew's still going to have to put together a very fast and clean, efficient pit stop. Mr. Clean Crew made a mistake in the Busch Series race yesterday at Michigan. And they have made a mistake before on this Cup Series side of things back at Talladega. Biffle will pit this time by lap 480. We'll have 20 laps to go when he comes out of the pit lane. Again, his pit box is on the front stretch. He's under Menard off of turn 2. Biffle will be coming in. No adjustments. 4 tires in fuel for the 16. He does not speed, and with ease will make it into his pit box. 20 to go at Bristol. Very classic game indeed. Glad you tuned in. Alright, let's see here. Yeah, Biffle led 730 laps coming into this race tonight. He would have had to lead 240 laps to eclipse 1,000 laps led, and he has led over 400 today. A little bit of smoke going into turn 1, and a couple cars may have made contact. Biffle coming out of the pits. And he is not that far ahead of Matt Kenseth. Look at where he cycled out of the pits, and I didn't think that was a slow stop for the 16. 19 to go, and what has not been a close race pretty much all day. Biffle's been comfortably anywhere between a second and a half to 4.5 seconds ahead of the lead. He cycles out of the pits on Matt Kenseth, just about a car length and a half to 2 car lengths in front of his teammate. The good news is Biffle has about 20 lap fresher tires. So you would think that's going to give him a competitive advantage to the end of the race. And it does look like he's slowly pulling him. So it's a good thing he came out in front of him. And Kenseth, you would think, is going to race him clean, considering that these two are teammates. Harvick, first car lap down right behind those guys. Biffle still has the lead. I'm sure that contact between Biffle and Nelson probably costed some of that lead as well. That's how Kenseth got one of his 2 laps back before Biffle had even pit. Biffle going to have to get around the lap car of Sterling Marlin as quickly as he can. 15 to go. Right now, Marlin right in front of him on the bottom lane and is not moving. Biffle drives underneath them off the exit of turn 4. Marlin's got some damage around the left front of his race car. Biffle clears him cleanly off of turn 4. Biffle's stretched that lead out to about 0.6 of a second now. And we are 13 laps away from a caution-free Food City 500 at Bristol. Right as I said that, there was some contact off of turn 2 with some lap cars up ahead who are going side by side right now. Biffle will catch them before the end. Hopefully they can get single filed out as quickly as possible. And does Kenseth have anything for his teammate in the closing laps? Kenseth obviously has not led a lap all day long. Scott Riggs on the outside, Biffle to the inside. A little contact off the exit of turn 2 between the 16 and the 10. I think that's going to hold Biffle up too much. 10 to go. That's insane, though, for this race to go caution-free. 3 green flag pit stops on a half-mile short track, and still the distance between first and second is only about 0.6 of a second at the end. And, of course, with it being 2 teammates, I guess it's somewhat reasonable. They probably have equal race cars as far as setup goes. More lap cars going side by side. This is probably as heavy of lap traffic as it has been in a long time in front of Greg Biffle coming up. From pretty much now to the end of the race, these final 7 laps he's going to be dealing with it. The first car he's going to catch is going to be Derek Cope in the 50. And Jamie McMurray in the 42 just up ahead as well. Biffle quickly to the inside of Cope off the exit of turn 2. Biffle slides. He makes a mistake. He drives it in too deep to get around Cope through 3 and 4. Kenseth closes about a car length and a half to 2 car lengths that lap. You wouldn't think Kenseth's going to use the bumper if he gets an opportunity. And you would think that he's just going to race the 16 straight up. Biffle gets around Cope through 3 and 4. 5 laps to go at Bristol. Greg Biffle never won at Bristol in his NASCAR Nextel Cup Series career. Trying to rewrite history today, getting him that first win at this racetrack. Gets around Craven. That's 2 lap cars between the top 2 now. And about 0.8 of a second is the difference as well. I think if they were equal tires, Kenseth might have had a better shot at Biffle. But the 20 lap fresher tires for Biffle was the difference maker. Him staying out those extra 20 laps nearly cost him a 3.3 second lead. But he should be able to hold on. 2 to go. He's kind of stuck behind Jamie McMurray that last lap. He did get around the 151 though. McMurray battling Waltrip likely for position. Oh, and they make contact right in front of Biffle. Biffle has a 1 second lead at the line. White flag in the air as he gets underneath the lap car of McMurray. Final lap of the race. Biffle clears McMurray. Now he's under wall trip into the final corner one final time. He'll lap him and Scott Wimmer one extra time. Checkered flag in the air. Greg Biffle will win the Food City 500 at Bristol. And we finally have our first caution-free race in the Nextel Cup Series custom schedule season. And it comes at Bristol of all racetracks. Biffle dominates the day en route to his victory. Win number 7 on the season for the Biff in the first 11 races. And a front stretch victory burnout. Well-deserved win here today. Take a look at our official results in this race. 2 hours and 9 minutes to get 500 laps in today at Bristol. So that goes to show, if you ever have a caution-free race at Bristol, which during the stage racing era would be impossible, but during a caution-free race at Bristol would take barely over 2 hours. The 500 laps. So I'd say 500 laps is a good distance. 487 laps led today for Greg Biffle, totaling himself over 1,100 laps led on the season in just 11 races. Unbelievable. Matt Kenseth finishes second, a 1-2 finish for Roush Fenway Racing. This is despite the fact Biffle qualified 5th. Took him 13 laps to get around Junior at the start of the day. Ryan Newman finishes 3rd. He qualified 3rd. Jeff Gordon 4th. Dale Jr. rounds out the top 5 of the a 5th place finish. He led, again, those first 13 laps. Tony Stewart finishes in 6th. Casey Kane 7th. And there were 7 cars who finished on the lead lap today. Harvick was the first car lap down in 8th at the end. We saw just behind Kenseth after cycling out of the pit stops with 20 to go. Jimmy Johnson finishes in 9th. Elliott Sadler, another top 10, as he'll round it out today as far as the top 10 running order goes. Take a look at who all DNF'd. Only a few of them blew engines in today's race. Mike Murphy, Bobby Labonte, Robbie Gordon, J.R. Jones were the only 4 drivers who blew an engine today, failing to finish this 500-lap race at Bristol. 1.2 seconds was the margin of victory, and just the 1 lead change when Biffle passed Dale Jr. on lap 13. Guess it would have been lap 14 in today's race. That was the only lead change. Clayton iPad, welcome to the stream. Well deserved indeed, although it will be wise the next few races to finish races consistently, yes. That's back-to-back top 5s for Greg Biffle. 3rd at the New York City Street Course, and now a first here today at Bristol. Crown Jewel event tomorrow. This is a famed track as far as NASCAR goes, but tomorrow's race will be the Brickyard 400 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That is going to be an interesting one, to say the least. There's Greg Biffle with the Food City 500 trophy sitting behind him in victory lane. So 6 p.m. Eastern Standard start time tomorrow for our Brickyard 400 on the channel. Like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. I will see you guys then. Thank you for watching. That'll be our last stream before I leave for Atlanta on Saturday. And we'll be having the predictions, post-race analysis videos then, and then also a race highlight video from the grandstands this weekend, so you'll get to see my view of the race, at least broken up in sections of the race. But thank you, everybody. I'll see you guys tomorrow night.